I'm Elvis Mitchell. My guest today is Paul Thomas Anderson, whose movie Hard 8 went sadly unheralded, but he more than made up for that with his newest release, Boogie Nights, which he wrote and directed. Paul, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations on having the highest grossing movie for the month of October.
Well, thank you.
I don't know, it's not the kind of thing we normally talk about here, so we'll quickly move past that. And something I'll say to you that I've thought about when watching the movies is that I was at the Adult Film Awards in 1986. It was an odd year because, and it brought your movie to mind because one of the nominees was this black actor who had been the only black regular in the cast of Happy Days, who fall into the world of adult film.
Really?
Absolutely. I can't remember his name, but I know he played a character named Styx. And I was sitting there horrified because when Francis Coppola was sitting behind me, rubbing his hands together, and then this guy, I felt like I'd fallen into a rabbit hole.
Right. See, I wish I'd met you before. That could have been in the movie, you know. I mean, then it could have been 3 hours long.
That's my story. That's Ebony Nights, the other side of Boogie Nights. But it's what I like about the movie. It's got stuff like that in it. It's got a lot of really felt detail in it, and the thing that I think is really great about it, which a lot of people, I don't know if it's being observed or not, but there's a lot of character observance through comedy,
right? Which
is a real strength of yours, I think.
Right. Well, thanks. You know, there's so many. I think that might be a reason why the movie's so long. You know, is that there's so many good stories in that world, so many fascinating and interesting stories, and it was like the goal was to just sort of take each character and have them represent the versions of stories that I'd heard about in that world. You know, here's Buck. You know, Buck can be the guy that also has the day job. You know, so I guess it's a version of the Happy Days story. Buck's the guy with the, you know, who's got a version of a day job and really trying. Probably too nice for that world, you know. And then there's, you know, Reed, you know, who can, you know, anytime you can put magic and porno in a movie together, I think it's going to be funny and sad, you know.
But the thing I think that unites both of these movies is that there's this kind of need for family.
Yeah.
In both of them, and I wonder where that comes from for you in doing that.
Well, I think, you know, it's funny because I see it as a theme only now. I think, I mean, certainly it's a reality in the world of porno is that it can be so demoralizing so quickly that the job can, that the sort of the only way to really survive is to look to the other people in that world, in that industry, and latch onto them and go, okay, you know what I'm going through. Hang on to me, save me, hold me, because you're the only one that can really understand. Because it's true, you know. And as far as being a sort of theme in both of the movies, I think maybe my need to be around a sort of family of people that I work with, the same actors and the same sort of production people, maybe there's some kind of slip there or something. I don't know.
Well, it's funny because the filmmakers who obviously mean a lot to you, Coppola and Scorsese, are also filmmakers who create a family in their work as well. And I wonder if that's even something that draws you to their stuff somehow.
It might be. I mean, I don't know. I think maybe it's my own freakish insecurity to want to be around my friends all the time, you know. It is, but I don't know.
But there's a difference, though. I mean, because there are a lot of movies that come out that are kind of about people being around their friends. But there's another thing altogether to try and create a fabric of connectedness that is beyond friendship. And I think that's what these movies get to, because they're father figures in both these pictures.
Right. Well, yeah.
I guess I just answered my own question.
Well, no, you did. I mean, and the funny thing is kind of like if yeah, you did. You asked the question so well that all I would do was screw it up by answering.
No, but please take a shot at it.
No, you know what it can border on. It's kind of like you ever go to a rock concert and before someone sings the song, you know, the guy gets up and he says, you know, this is a song about love and redemption, and you're thinking, just sing the song. I don't want you to hear me. I don't want you to tell me what the song is about. I want you to play it. You know.
Well, that brings up an interesting point. The music selection, you know, the big question for me is why Boogie Nights is in the movie.
Honestly, I never really liked that song that much. I don't know.
Well, it's no ELO, but...
No, it's no ELO, that's right. Well, I don't know why Boogie Nights isn't in there. I never really loved that song. There's something great about the title, but there's nothing sort of cinematic within the song, you know.
But got the kind of disposability that era has. Not even though it's not a great song, it in terms of you know, a thematic link, it kind of lends itself to the movie.
But also too, that's something to be careful of is
over-explicating?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's nice a lot of times. I mean, to me, the criterion for music is besides year and date specific, you know, month specific, like was this song released in the year and month in which this scene is taking place? Okay, good. Now, really, it's about the coolest song. I mean, and then sort of unashamed to say that. Second, if it does have sort of lyrical quality that can kind of complement something thematically, that's great. But it's also dangerous. It's like sometimes you can just go dank, you know, and hit the nail on the head so perfectly that it's just a little obnoxious, you know. And there's something. I had a friend who would when I would go to the movies with him, he would, whenever they would say the title of the movie within the movie, he'd just scream out like a hawk. I don't know why. He would just do this, and you know, he would wait for the moment in the movie when someone would say, you know, Boogie Nights, and then he would just scream, and the entire audience would turn around, and then he'd just stop, and that would be it. So, I don't know.
Well, that gives it kind of an elusive quality that it's not. I mean, take it from me. It's not a serious question.
No.
But I mean, you'd have too much time, but not asking a serious question. So I'll ask one. I guess I wonder, in terms of doing a movie like this, how much you felt you had to show. I'm sure it's a question you've been asked a lot.
Right.
But it's an interesting point because there was a time in American movies when filmmakers like Kubrick and Bertolucci were trying to use sex in an emotionally expressive way.
Right.
And this dovetails just after that period where these people in that industry were, in their very limited way, trying to do the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, well, I guess the challenge was to make sure to show what it was that they were doing, you know, what kind of films they were making. And I tried to go as far as I could within one set piece within the movie, which is the first time that Julianne's character and Mark's character get together and make a movie and have sex. And, you know, I thought anything after that would just sort of be redundant. I mean, you see there's little glimpses of sex here and there, but to really just find one set piece somewhere towards the beginning of the movie, to show what we're talking about, to show, you know, to show what Jack Horner does, you know, to show how they shoot things. So I thought once we took care of that, it was just good storytelling to not be redundant and do it again, you know, and it's funny because I only tried to be as graphic as I wanted it to be. I don't know if that makes sense. Well, I wanted to try and shoot that set piece the way that my experience was watching any porno movie, which is sort of alternately funny and disturbed and then really sad, and then maybe a version of it can be sexy, but then it's kind of quickly twisted and turned around into something else, and sort of very complicated and confused, you know, and hopefully I think I took over shooting that porno movie at a certain point and just kind of showing how it was to me. And I might have sort of violated the truth of the actual porno shoot, but that's the approach that I took to that scene.
See, I think in talking about that, you do feel this sort of complex of emotions when you're watching porno,
right.
Including a little bit of embarrassment,
right?
Not for watching it, but for the people in it.
Right, right. I mean, I can remember the first time I saw a porno movie, and my first instinct was, well, who is that person, and where did they come from, and where's their mom? Where's their mom to take care of them? What's happening? You know, but that's not to say there wasn't a glimmer of me, at least once upon a time, you know, sort of being a horny young man, where there's like 10 seconds where it's kind of exciting and it's kind of thrilling. Whether it's because you shouldn't be watching it, or because it actually is sort of sexually arousing, you know, for a minute or two, just to see naked bodies having sex, you know, that's okay too.
Well, the interesting thing about that is it almost relates to the classic role of being on a film set. The most exciting moment of your teenage life is the first minute of a porno movie.
Right.
And the most boring part is the rest of it.
Exactly. It's exactly true. I mean, that's why I had to sort of argue for 10 seconds with the studio for how long that first set piece went on. They said it really goes on a little too long, and I said it's got to go on just a little too long. Like every point of it, like this has just gone on a little too long.
Did they get that? I mean, did you find
yeah, they did. They were cool with that. They said okay.
Well, I guess it's interesting too because this is, and it's unusual for somebody your age to direct a movie that has so much texture. I mean, generally they're about momentum, or motion, or set pieces, and not that the movie doesn't have those things, but it really creates this kind of sense of texture. And I wonder if you, by choosing the 70s, they gave you a chance to give it the sense of place you don't normally see in movies, if that was something you thought about.
Well, it was funny because the story dictated the time, you know. I mean, I wasn't drawn to making a movie about the period, really, but
because it really is a roman clay of several lives.
Right, exactly. You know, but what I saw in the story of this, like this sort of kernel, really being the transition that porno films went through from being shot on film to being shot on videotape, and really sort of, if that was the starting point, then you're sort of boxed into, you know, this sort of section from 1977 to 1984. And then I think what you know, personally, what I brought to it is just that I grew up in the Valley, you know, which is the capital of porn production. So it had always sort of surrounded me in a real peripheral way, you know, through my pre-adolescence and my adolescence, and so I guess that there's just a twisted kind of personal sort of it's a twisted version of my childhood, you know, is basically making a movie about, you know, the time where I was 7 years old to 14 years old and trying to remember the way things looked and
does that end up
seemed to me.
Does that end up costing you something, though, making a movie about that period in your life? Do you end up, like, killing off some part of yourself in doing that?
I don't know, ask me in like 6 months. It doesn't feel that way right now. It feels really nice, you know. It felt really nice while we were making it to go back to yearbooks or old photo albums and comb through stuff and you know, and remembering the song that was playing in the station wagon when you were being driven to school and like, okay, let's put that on the radio in the bedroom with the girl next door scene. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff is, it's fun.
Do you think you're drawn to movies that are more textural than conventional? Because it's just something, seeing both these movies, that really came up for me, and I don't know why I keep asking, but it's something I feel when I see them.
Yeah, I guess, you know what, I think, maybe to answer your question, what you think is, I just have an obsession with actors, you know, and I feel like I do a good job in the script stage. Like, I do a pretty good job there, but really, as a director, I don't do anything. I really don't. I mean, I just watch them, and I hire really great ones, and I'm lucky enough that really great ones want to...
You have a really great cast in there.
Yeah, and they're people that I know really well. They're friends of mine, you know, which maybe that's...
Like John Riley.
Like John Riley and Phil Hoffman, who plays Scotty in the movie, and Philip Baker Hall, who was...
Yes, sure.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe that's... It's just... Good actors are so great because they will ask you all the right questions, and not in any sort of selfish way, but they'll really force you to kind of to do good work, you know. They'll really force you to examine the scene and say, well, why am I saying this? You know, and not in any kind of really kind of pretentious prima donna, where did my guy go to elementary school? You know what I mean? Not that kind of ridiculous stuff. Like, really just rock solid ideas and stuff that they bring to a scene that just kind of can make it come alive. And I'll tell you something else, is that it's really nice to make a movie with actors that are your friends, because you're not only taking care of the character that you want to protect, but you're like protecting your friend's performance, you know. And I don't believe in the sort of rule of really being tough on a performance. It's like, no, I think that there's sometimes where you can indulge a performance, indulge that person, if it really makes sense to.
Just tuned in, it's The Treatment. I'm Elvis Mitchell. My guest today is Paul Thomas Anderson, whose new movie is Boogie Nights. When you talk about that and these actors, I guess one of the things that's intriguing about these movies, and we can talk about Boogie Nights specifically now, I guess, is that there's a real kind of loopiness to it. There's a real eccentricity. Right. You know, and part of it, as you're seeing the scene, you find yourself, me, asking questions about these characters, which means that they really have realized some kind of interior life on the screen.
Right. Well, thank you. again, I mean,
I'm really doing a bad job asking it.
No, you're not. No, you're not. But it's the actors, you know, because because the way I write the script, I don't. One of the worst sins in sort of screenwriting is you see like I see this all the time. You see like character descriptions, you know. Enter John. He's a dashing young lad who,
they're always
you know,
handsome. Handsome is always
handsome, and there's just tons of physical description, and then tons of sort of interior monologue description, like, you know, he's bad. I mean real bad, you know, but not the kind of bad that you might think. And it goes on forever. And so this is the writer, the screenwriter, describing the character. Well, that's not, you can't act any of that stuff, you know. It's like, well, no. He walks on, he stands, and then the dialogue, and it's like, and that's what I do for the actors. And then what's great is that they have they have the freedom to act and to bring stuff to it, you know, and they're not, you know, tied down by all this ridiculous stuff that they usually have in scripts, you know. Actors go nuts when they see that stuff. It's like, don't describe it to me. Just tell me where the point is that I stand and what the dialogue is, you know. And I will take that, and I will do a great job, you know.
Well, it's interesting. These are all really interesting things you're bringing up. I guess there's so much stuff. First of all, I think what really works about the movie is that, like many great American movies, it's about the end of an era.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't want to make these obvious signposts, but certainly The Godfather, each of those movies are about the end of an era.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically the death knell to those eras. And the last scene, which reminds me of Raging Bull. Raging Bull thing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I didn't. Certainly, I'm pretty movie literate, and obviously I'm just a movie geek and a fan. And that's fun to do, is to make sort of in references or riff on something, or even rip something off and to play with it. The funny thing was the last scene of the movie. I always knew that the movie should end with Dirk preparing to go make another movie.
It also kind of ends where it starts too.
Right. Exactly. It's sort of a circle. But I started writing that scene, and I realized halfway through that this was in fact Raging Bull. Like, oh, wait a minute, this is. But I certainly didn't stop myself, because I sort of said, well, this can all make sense. We saw this kid in the first 5 minutes with his Al Pacino poster on the wall, dancing in front of the mirror, sort of a la John Travolta, you know, in Saturday Night Fever, which had just come out clearly in 1977, so he's fascinated by that. Here's this kid totally influenced by movies. And then to sort of have Mark Wahlberg sit in front of the mirror playing Eddie Adams, playing Dirk Diggler, playing Brock Landers, playing Robert De Niro, playing Jake LaMotta, playing, you know,
Travis Bickle too, which also is there.
Right, exactly. I just thought, well, couldn't this just go on forever in kind of movie reference land, or where this kid's head is, you know, in terms of, you know, growing up on movies and thinking he's a movie star.
You're certainly giving the guys at Cahiers du Cinema something to write about in the next
right,
20
yeah.
years, let me tell you. But it's funny, too, because seeing a movie set in 1977 with Burt Reynolds, who probably gave his last great performance in 1977 in Semi-Tough, it's kind of dizzying, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I don't think you can write a movie about, you know, pornography in the 70s with a character named Jack Horner and not think of Burt Reynolds, you know. It's really that's just the simple math of it, you know. It's funny though, I didn't really, you know, it's kind of like going on a porno set. For the first 2 seconds, it's shocking. It's Burt Reynolds. Wow, I'm meeting Burt Reynolds, you know. But very quickly, you know, on the set, it's just another actor who. But
there's got to be too, because one of the things that's problematic for Burt Reynolds, and he still does to some extent, and doesn't do it here, is that he sometimes signals to the audience that it's a joke.
Yeah.
And he's rock solid in the movie. He's really he's a foundation. And even though the comedy comes out of these people having these wild ambitions and being very limited in terms of talent, they've got to function as human beings.
Right, exactly.
And he does that.
He does do it, you know, and he's open to direction, and it's not hard, and his instincts for the most part, 90% of the time, was not to do that, was not to wink at the audience, you know, but every once in a while.
Was he just ready for it, you think? Or?
He was ready for it. He saw what the script was. He saw what the part was, and when I sat down with him, I said, you know, this is a big part, and a good part, a hard part. Do you want to? He said, I want to do this. I can do this. I know exactly how to do this. And he said, I want you to remember something. And I said, what? He said, I was an actor first before I was a celebrity, you know. And please don't forget that I really am an actor. I thought that was wonderful, and I also thought there was a wonderful connection to Jack Horner. You know, the similarities there. The character that he's playing is this guy who's sort of screaming, "I'm a filmmaker." You know, yeah, I've done the big tits thing and everything else, and some bad movies along the way, but I'm really a filmmaker. So I saw that parallel, and you know, and the truth was that Burt knew what was going on. He you know, there was only maybe once or twice where I said, you know, you're playing the joke. You know, you're playing the joke instead of the guy, you know. Make sure you play the guy. And he knew what that meant.
Well, it's a real danger, though, and it must have concerned you a little bit, because this is a part where somebody could conceivably do that and derail the movie.
Yeah. I mean, if it concerned me before I met Burt, it certainly didn't concern me 5 seconds after I shook his hand, because he convinced me that that wasn't going to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that wasn't the case. You know, I think you should get nervous anytime you put actors in 70s clothes. You know, especially if you have Don Cheadle and John C. Reilly on the same set, you know, and they get that sort of tight polyester on, and they're those are brilliant actors, but their first instinct is to ham it up. It's like, calm down. I know that polyester feels good rubbing against your ass, but stop.
Hey, the clothes are doing the work for you.
Exactly. Julianne was the best at that. I just said, because there was sometimes where she's so subtle, she's so wonderful, and she was the first one who said, the clothes are doing the work. You know, in the courtroom scene there, I looked over and I said, God, you're so good. She said, it's not me, it's the clothes, baby. You know.
But it's funny too, because it's a movie full of wildly different acting styles.
Yeah. It is, but I love them all. You know, they're all a good actor's a good actor.
No, I'm not saying that, but you know what I'm saying, that it's the kind of thing you think, if these people don't connect as characters, one wheel's going to go flying off and wreck the whole thing.
You know what? Different acting styles are fine, just as long as all those different acting styles know what movie they're in.
Yeah, they've got to complement each other.
Exactly. And that just happened. I guess that's luck or something. I don't know what, or just a good mixture of casting and putting the pieces together. But it really did work out nicely, I have to say.
Well, yeah, it did, but here's what I want to talk about, because you certainly heard the press reports about arrogance. And I think what I see in you is real confidence in your material, and that's got to, people who want to come in and tell you what you're doing, it's got to shake them up a little bit, because the movie business is full of that.
I don't know what to say, because I don't know. I
obviously you have an enormous amount of trust in the story you're telling.
Yeah, I do, and I think actors would much rather show up to a set with a director who has a plan and a vision than show up to a set with somebody who really isn't sure. You know, it really is much easier for them, because you know, most of the actors that I know commit to making movies, and then when they show up on the script, show up on the set, it's a different, somehow there's new pages for the scene they're doing, you know, and then so the movie they committed to doing is not the movie that they're shooting, and certainly isn't the movie that comes out in the theaters. And I think actors maybe just respect and respond to, if nothing else, not my charming personality, but just a sort of a clear vision, a clear path. Whether or not that's going to be the right path or not, you know, they don't know, but at least we can just respond to having a game plan, you know, and sticking to the plan, you know.
No, I wonder how close, and I know this is still very recent, the movie just came out, how close do you feel it is to the game plan you laid out when you start working on it? How long ago?
It's very close. I mean, this movie, in a way, started when I was 17 years old. I made a short film called The Dirk Diggler Story, you know, which was about Dirk Diggler.
Will that be on the Criterion Laserdisc?
No, I don't think so.
No, funny, because let's run that now, JC. We've got it right here in the audience. No.
Well, it's out there. It's not hard to find. It's very fun. It's very funny. It's a little more sort of wacky, you know. I think it shows a 17-year-old. You know.
I'm sure it's a little less assured, because there's an enormous amount of polish and confidence in the filmmaking here.
Yeah.
And it's even like a big leap from Hard Eight. I hate saying that title, but it's even a big jump from that.
Well, it's funny, because I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Boogie Nights had been my first movie, I think it would still be the same movie. I think there's such different stories.
No, I get that, but
you know what I mean?
You've got to say that this is something where you really step back from it in a way that I think because there's more melodrama in Hard Egg, you had to feel like you were more in the middle of it. And I think this lends itself better to being not a first movie.
True. No, it's true. I mean, just the stories are so different that this sort of stuff, you know, techniques, whatever, and interest that I applied to both stories was so different, you know. I knew that Boogie Nights had to kind of be, or should be, the plan that I had was to sort of, in a very unashamed way, make an epic, you know, and really go for it, you know. That was important. I mean, we were all just fearless, or stupid. I don't know what, you know.
Well, we don't make those kind of judgments here, just so you know that. But both movies are set, too, and this is, I guess, maybe a good way to end. It's got 3 minutes left here. They're both set in kind of disreputable areas of American popular culture that everybody knows and everybody connects with and nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, nobody wants to talk about Vegas and gambling. And there's a kind of garishness. And I think sort of largeness of spirit that are really American about both those things.
Yeah. Well, that's nice. I don't know. It's funny because it's not, you know, it's not as if
There's a lot of cheese in Vegas and porn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a taste for that? I mean, I don't mean literal cheese, but I mean in the case of the
well, I certainly have a taste for gambling. I certainly I love to gamble, and I spend a lot of time in Reno gambling. And I certainly spent a lot of time watching porno movies for one reason or another, fascinated by that world. I don't know. It's easier for me to put my finger on why I would be fascinated with pornography growing up in the San Fernando Valley than why gambling seems to be interesting to me. But I think I've gotten over the gambling. I think it's very important if you go. I had a fascination with gambling, but if you go and you make a movie in Reno and you spend, I mean, really 3 or 4 solid months there shooting, you can get over get over that fascination pretty quickly.
So you got to burn out one of your compulsions thanks to somebody else paying for the tab. Right?
Exactly.
But do you feel like you've got this stuff out of your system now? I mean, these movies, I guess, obviously, to some small extent, are biographical.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. I think well, we'll see. Maybe my next movie should be, you know, about the gambling porno brothers who are raised by the father figure. I don't know.
You could go to San Francisco for that one.
Yeah. You know what? I think as long as I don't know. I think a lot of stuff's out of my system, but a lot of stuff isn't. So, and I still have a lot I want to do.
You know, I imagine you do. Thanks, Paul. My guest today has been Paul Thomas Anderson. I'll let you say thanks. I'm sorry if you talked over. It's just been such a great time. Thanks for doing this, really.
Well, thank you.
Our technical director is J.C. Swanwick. Mary Holdridge produces the program. I'm Elvis Mitchell. It's The Treatment on KCRW at 89.9.